Hey there, everybody. I'm Dave Graber.
And I'm Kelsey Anderson.
Welcome to another edition of Buffalo Brief on this Thursday. A busy week. It's a busy day of news, I think. We have a lot going on in the newsroom. Reporters and photographers and producers are working feverishly. You'll want to tune in tonight because there are a lot of stories, I think, that are of great public interest to this community, to broader Western New York. And there's a lot going on kind of out in the world as well. There's been one issue that has been brought up several times. In fact, over the past couple of weeks, they have been. What are we doing?
Your camera. You were looking at the wrong camera.
I was looking at one. What was I looking at?
You were looking at 4.
What was my camera? 1?
Your camera's 1. Sorry.
Listen. I'm glad.
We're talking about really serious topics here, and I was like, I just want him to look at the right camera.
Thank you for doing that. I should have checked before we started. We've got cameras at different angles here,
all over the place.
And they're not in the same spot each and every day. So my apologies, Kels. Thank you. Let's get right. No, that's good because I would have been talking to that thing for the next 30 minutes. All right, let's get right into an issue that has been discussed a couple of times over the past couple of weeks. A group of Democratic senators and members of the Assembly are urging the governor to add what they are calling missing funds in the state budget this time around. Missing money that they say could allow thousands of children who are currently on wait lists to receive child care supported by taxpayers. So let's bring in Senator Jeremy Zellner to talk a little bit about this program, this letter that he and other legislators recently sent to the governor and what they hope happens in the next couple of months. Senator Zellner, good to see you. Thank you for joining us on Buffalo Brief.
Good to see you both.
Thank you. All right, let's start with this. You are joining forces with April Baskin, Assembly Majority Leader Crystal Peoples-Stokes, Karen McMahon, Patrick Burke, and Bill Conrad for this. Explain just the overreaching, the bill that you guys have put together here.
Well, first, it is just really an important thing to get done for our community. Parents shouldn't have to go broke in order to have childcare for their kids. And this would expand childcare to thousands of kids in our county. We think there's like 66% of the kids in our community could get this program if it was fully funded. And there was just a lot of, I just got here. And there was just a lot of back and forth and a little bit of confusion because the county was offered a pilot program from the state to be one of the counties that has this program. And the county executive did not want to do it because we were not fully funded by the state for what we already have in place. So he felt that the county couldn't afford this pilot program. So Senator Baskin has worked really hard to make that front and center. And then over the last couple of weeks since I've been here in Albany, we've been talking to the Assembly members and talking to our colleagues and working on working groups about child care to try to get this going and working with the governor's office to try to get this fully funded so that we can hit the ground and run with this child care pilot project in Erie County. Now, we've had some great, thoughtful conversations within our caucus and within our groups about this shouldn't just be a pilot program. It shouldn't just be in Erie County. We want to get this statewide, and we shouldn't be picking and choosing winners here. This shouldn't be done by if you're lucky enough to have a county pilot or lucky enough to have elected officials who are supporting this. So we hope that this is also just the beginning of an expansion that is going to make real a difference in people's lives.
Jeremy, this is part of the governor's initiative that she unveiled in her budget proposal in January to cover childcare for children 0 to 3. Can you give a little background on that and how she wants that to be a program that is supported by the state?
Well, we saw that was announced for New York City, that it was going to be universal. Right. And so a lot of folks were saying, geez, why don't we get this upstate? We have to be thoughtful about the implementation. We're also talking about universal pre-K. And I've talked with a number of our superintendents and a number of our school administrators since being down here, and they're a little concerned that we may not have the room or the ability to get that started immediately. We want to be able to implement this in a thoughtful way so that it's done the right way. We've got a lot of questions when you go back to the child care about who is going to provide it. What kind of qualifications do they have? Can we pay them the amount of money that we need to pay them to recruit more people to be child care advocates and keep an eye on our kids? They're not making a lot of money. And so we need to pay them for the important job that they're doing. So there's a number of things that I know Senator Baskin has been working on to try to make sure we get the details right on this as well.
You are not polling cars, so obviously you cannot speak to exactly why, he didn't accept this, but can you go into more depth about that? I feel like it was kind of brushed over. What funding haven't we gotten here in Erie County? Why would he say no to obviously additional?
I'm not Mark Poloncarz.
Yeah.
But I think what has happened is that the state was reimbursing the county at a certain level, and they never increased that funding, although the costs increased dramatically. And so I want to say we're somewhere in an $8 million range where we really need to get that funding up to the county so that they can be made whole, and then we can put this in place.
Okay, so so you're saying 8 million is the number, and do we think, because that seems like, I mean, gosh, Jeremy, in a $260 billion budget, 8 million is a drop in the bucket.
Yeah, I mean, it's $5 to $8 million, I think, right now, and we're working on it. We're hoping that this letter and that the conversations we're having with the governor gets that done. Just to kind of clarify that on the timeline too, because so the group of legislators asking the governor to include that in this year's budget, legislators, let's say they do approve it and it does get included. Would this be for, I'm assuming, the fiscal year the following year, or could this be a program that could legitimately begin in maybe, say, September when school starts up? We're hoping to get it in the following year, but what we've got to do is get it in our Senate budget and the Assembly budget, and hope the governor as well works on this with us too. Got it.
Okay. Anything else?
Nothing on that, unless there's anything outstanding, Jeremy. I mean, we will find out the letter or the answer to your letter, I suppose, around April 1st, right? Yeah, what I like about what we're doing is we're including all of our legislators. They seem to be all on the same page. This could be life-changing for so many people in our community, and something that I've heard a lot about it when I'm talking to voters throughout the county. And this would have made a big difference in my life with my little kids when they were younger. Is we were paying half of our paycheck to send them to daycare. Mm-hmm. This happens to a lot of families that have to choose whether they're going to go broke and go to work, or whether they're not going to be able to have their kids go to daycare. And it shouldn't be that way.
All right, let's move on to SNAP changes. We know that because we've talked to Feed More many, many times, Feed More Western New York has helped more and more people every year since COVID. SNAP changes are now going into effect. This will affect thousands of people here in Erie County. I just want to read these new guidelines for folks who don't know. Able-bodied adults without dependents, defined as adults ages 18 to 64 who do not have children under 14 in their household and are physically and mentally able to work, will be required to work at least 20 hours per week to participate in the SNAP, in qualifying activities, including job training, job search, or volunteer service, in order to qualify for SNAP benefits here. What are you doing on the state level to help these folks who could be losing their SNAP benefits that they have relied on potentially for years and rely on for them and their families?
Well, we're trying to increase funding for other benefit programs for food insecurity. We've had a problem with food insecurity since before the pandemic. The pandemic exacerbated things, and now the cuts from the federal government have really put us in a red alert. We met with Feed More this week. They told us that there was a cut from the USDA to the state of New York of $40 to $45 million in funding. That is an incredible loss for us. So we're working closely with Feed More. They're building a new facility, which we think could be a game changer because it's going to allow for a lot more donations to come in that they can process at the new facility. Right now, they're not able to process a lot of what they call protein intake. They don't have a protein intake processing at their current facility. This new place will really help us take care of a lot more people. They feed thousands and thousands of people in our community every day. They serve 4 different counties across our region, and it's incredibly important that we fully fund them right now and help them out because we have so much food insecurity going on in our community, and this SNAP cut, it doesn't help. Your attention, Jeremy, of course, is the 61st District in Western New York. But I'm curious, if you're saying Feed More may need 40 to 45,
Is that the same story for other food pantries and places, agencies like Feedmore across the state, right?
Yeah, no, this is a statewide cut of 40 to
Got it.
45
Got
million.
it. Got
So
it.
it is hurting everyone across the state. And Dave, being down here in the room where it happens, that they say we're really working on thoughtful solutions to a lot of these problems. But it is not easy. Our state has been targeted by the federal government. We've had $1 trillion cut across the country from healthcare. So, we're doing all we can, but it is a real challenge at every level.
Are you going to be then steering, because if let's just say it's 40 to 45 million that's been cut across the state, are you able to steer that money in kind, like let's say even equal or similar levels, in a different way? You started by saying we're trying to funnel it into different channels. Do you think you'll be able to make up the full gap as results now?
We're not going to be able to make up the full gap. We're working hard to get every nickel we can in there, but for our region, it's going to be really important to get this new plant up and running, because it's going to be able to allow them to do even more for our community. So that's one thing that, I signed a letter on with a bunch of my colleagues to make happen as well. But, it's also our job to make this issue come to the forefront. Feedmore has also received a lot of private donations from across our community that has been a huge help to them since all these cuts were announced as well. So it's also just advocacy, making sure folks know what great work that Feedmore does.
Yeah, there you go. And we're trying to do that as well.
Agreed.
Okay, let's move along to a shocking story that came down yesterday, but this all kind of unraveled over the past couple of weeks, and this man died Tuesday night. So officials across the state now, especially here in Western New York, demanding an investigation into the death of a refugee here. He was found dead in Buffalo Tuesday night. This is a picture of him. He was released from the custody of U.S. Customs and Border Protection. We are finding out that those agents had taken him from a jail, and there's so many details with this, but they had taken him from there. They dropped him off what they believe was close to his house at a Tim Hortons. And now we're finding out from Mayor Sean Ryan that Tim Hortons may have been closed, and this gentleman may not have been wearing the proper shoes or any shoes at all, perhaps.
Perhaps released with jail booties.
Yeah. Nural Lum is his name, and he was 56 years old. Senator, what do you have to say about this, shocking story here in Western New York?
Well, I found out about it when we were in our conference yesterday discussing this very issue. And my colleagues all found out about it at the same time. It is shocking. It is horrific. This isn't who we are, and we have to do something about it. But I think your comment about there's a lot of details. We've got to get to the bottom of this. We need full transparency. We need a full investigation on exactly what happened here. And then we have to go to work as a state legislature and as a state government to see exactly what we can do to push back at the fullest extent with the federal government's tampering here with ICE. They cannot be allowed to uncontrollably go around the state of New York or anywhere in America and just grab anyone they want for any reason they want. It's my understanding that Mr. Alam was in jail for the last year because he didn't want to be deported. His family and his attorneys were holding him in jail so that he didn't come out and get deported. And at the end of the day, we have to look at what's going on in our country as far as people's feelings towards immigrants. Immigrants are not the cause of our problems. Immigrants are far less likely to commit crimes than any other group, and they've been demonized by people, and that's got to stop. We have to find real solutions to come together and have real immigration reform that is thoughtful of people. We have folks saying, geez, we've got to show ID for voting because illegal folks are going to the polls, and these folks are not going to their churches, their mosques, because they're terrified. You think they're going to vote? You think they're going to break laws and commit crimes that could put them in a spotlight? It just is simply not happening. And we have to have thoughtful dialogue, which we are doing right now at the state capitol, on what we can do that makes sense to protect everybody here in New York and not just demonize a certain group. This was a horrible incident, and we need to have deliberative conversations about what we can do to stop things like this from happening.
The investigations are being called at the federal level and at the state level by everyone from you to Senator Ryan to Governor Hochul to Representative Kennedy and on and on. I guess my question is there anything either in and outside of Albany or anything at the state level that the state could do to compel the federal government to get to the bottom of this? I think what we've seen over the past several months, Jeremy, is the frustration at the state level because their investigations only go so far. It hits a federal point, and the federal government just says, we're not doing that, sorry.
Right. And I know that Congressman Kennedy is working hard to get answers here. And what I will say, Dave, is there is not a whole lot that the state government can do to put an end to this, right? If ICE or the federal government wants to come in here and do what they want to do, there is not a lot we can do to stop. However, we can direct our agencies and our law enforcement groups to not cooperate with ICE. And I think that's going to be the crux of what we get to with this New York for All bill is what can we do specifically to encourage our law enforcement officials to be thoughtful about this, and if they're and not cooperate when they shouldn't cooperate. Frankly, I mean, you see it locally with some of our municipalities that Mayor Ryan has had the city of Buffalo not do any cooperation with ICE as well. This all stems from the top, though. This all stems from demonizing immigrants, demonizing people who are here, saying, we want to keep us safe. We want to keep us safe, but we want to keep us safe from people who are really committing crimes, not just broad stroke, finding anybody we can, raiding restaurants, raiding schools. That is unacceptable.
This man had various medical conditions. We were told he was nearly blind, unable to speak English. We have a ton more information on this on WIVB.com. We know DA Mike Kane also spoke out about this, detailing a lot about this man's case. And all of that is on WIVB.com, and our Trina Catterson is following that for us on air as well today. State Senator Jeremy Zellner, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you both.
Appreciate it. All right, coming up, we will talk to Jonah. We have a decent amount in the sports world to talk about, including the return of the Sabres.
Let's go.
We'll be back. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. We are talking sports now with Jonah, and we have a long list. He always sends us a list of, the trending sports topics in Western New York. And today is, we have a lot to get to.
We do have a lot to get to. I was checking first to see how many exclamation points we had today. Only the one.
Only one.
But don't let that fool you, because we do have a lot to get to. Let's start with Tage and the Sabres, I think. Pretty cool moment down in New Jersey, right?
Yeah, still celebrating this Olympic gold medal for Team USA, the first since the Miracle on Ice in 1980. Buffalo Sabres forward Tage Thompson was a big part of that. Got to celebrate at the White House and then was back on the ice with the Sabres Wednesday night with the Olympic hero Jack Hughes, and they got honored before the game. The Sabres are going to do something similar like that for Tage here on next Tuesday when they're next home again, because they play 2 road games in Florida tonight and Saturday night. But Tage Thompson ended up being the star of the game. Had the goal, then stole the puck from Jack Hughes, set up Peyton Krebs for what turned out to be the winning goal. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, 57 and a half minutes of shutout hockey, let in 1 goal, but 2-1 win. So the Sabres back on a winning note coming out of that break. Tage Thompson, no signs of travel weariness or celebratory hangover coming into that game. So a lot of good feelings around USA Hockey and the Buffalo Sabres and Team USA and their extensions here.
Does Thompson bring Eichel onto the ice like Hughes brought Thompson?
Yeah, he might. I mean, that'll be interesting to see what kind of reception Jack Eichel gets here in Buffalo. He's been booed heartily.
He has.
In his visits with the Vegas Golden Knights, but it's been a few years. Maybe some of those bad feelings have melted somewhat, and Jack Eichel played on a line with Tage Thompson.
He had a good Olympics.
Times, set him up for a goal early on in the tournament. So we'll see how the Buffalo fans embrace Jack Eichel, or maybe that will be avoided because of the potential for him to be booed.
By the way, I did reach out to Sabres PR asking about Haley Skamura. We've gotten a lot of messages about that.
Yeah,
Haley is playing that night as well on her own team in Toronto. So I don't know if she will be there, but I reached out to Sabres PR to ask because they are giving out these gold medal rally towels. And obviously she is the Western New Yorker who also won gold in the Olympics. Super proud of Haley Skamura. Yeah. And then Haley Wynn from Rochester as well. And her brothers were,
you followed them. That was awesome.
Were hilarious throughout the Olympics too, and huge supporters of women's sports and women's hockey in general as well. That was good. They play the Panthers tonight. The Sabres.
Back-to-back down in Florida. Last time Sabres did this about a month ago. They got 3 out of the 4 points, 1 in Florida. Overtime loss in Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, the leading team in the Atlantic Division. Sabres still in that playoff race. So these are big games for the Sabres. Big stretch here. 3 road games in 4 days coming out of the break, coming back to when they're going to play a lot of home games starting next week. But they off to a good start with that win in New Jersey. And if they can get even a split this weekend, that'll be a really good coming out of the break stretch for the Sabres here.
I feel like, excuse me, I feel like Tuesday is going to be rocking down at KeyBank, especially if they do well with these next couple of games. What an atmosphere that's going to be.
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely. Sabres fans haven't gotten to cheer for their team in a long time.
Yeah.
They had the 3-week break and then a week here on the road. It's a week away from the Olympics. It might not be quite the same scene it was when Ryan Miller came back in 2010. It was the first game after Team USA had gotten a silver medal but played very well in that tournament. But I do think Tage will get his flowers from the Buffalo fans, and the Buffalo fans will be eager for Buffalo Sabres hockey to return, and some of that energy will be back in the building.
Good stuff. Good ticket to get.
Let's talk about Bandits. They are home tonight. They play again. They have lost 6 in a row. Are they home tonight or is it tomorrow?
They're home tonight, and then they're on the road tomorrow in Toronto.
Okay,
they're only back-to-back set of the season here. They've lost 5 of the past 6. They lost 5 in a row. They won a game, and they lost their most recent game. They're 4-6, 10th place in the league, but only a game out of what would be a playoff position. So it's not over yet, but this is a very critical juncture. They play tonight against first place Saskatchewan, rematch of the NLL Finals that they won that series last year in 3 games. But Saskatchewan has only lost 1 game all season long. The Bandits really need at least a split in this back-to-back. I think Sabres and Bandits both play in both of these nights. Games on Channel 23 tonight. Nice. You can watch that. The Bandits won at home against the Saskatchewan team in the NLL Finals a year ago. So they're certainly capable of winning this game, but the Bandits need to find their mojo a bit because they're not playing too poorly. Just as Coach John Tavares said, they're finding ways to lose by 1 goal, 2 goals, some bad breaks, bad bounces going their way, and they really need to find ways to win to get back into that playoff picture.
What do you attribute, though, this difference in terms of their success levels from the past couple of seasons to this year? Is it they've had that many bad bounces? I mean, bad bounces all the way to 10th place? That seems like quite a bit.
The last home game that I covered, there were some bad bounces. There were 2 goals that the Bandits appeared to score and were disallowed. They didn't go in the net or it was reviewed and things like that. Each game has been a bit different. Their overall scoring margin, they're -7. They had 1 loss in Colorado where they lost by 11 goals. So if you take that out of it, they have a +4 scoring margin and a 4-5 record in the other game. So it's been a goal here, a goal there on each end. It's the combination of maybe being 1 goal worse on defense and 1 goal worse on offense is combining for them to lose a lot of close games instead of winning close games. They've had in years past in this 3-peat run where they didn't really pick up their steam until the second half of the season. Even though they won a lot of games last year to start, they got better as the season went along, but they were just so good that didn't really hurt their record. Now, just being a little bit worse on both ends of the floor, they've had some injuries on defense. That's been a problem, has caused them to lose more often than win so far.
Okay. Go check them out tonight down at KeyBank Center, and then, of course, you can watch it on the CW23 as well.
Yeah, rock and roll night. Even though the Bandits haven't been winning as often as usual, it hasn't stopped the rockin' in Bandit land.
Okay.
Some celebration
this maybe we'll get them rolling. How about that?
It's a fun atmosphere if you've never been. It's awesome.
It's so fun.
It's super fun.
All right, let's go to the NFL Scouting Combine that started yesterday. It runs through Sunday, and our Josh Reed is there with our videographer as well. What are they finding at the Combine this year?
Well, they were down there. Brandon Bean spoke. Joe Brady spoke. They had one-on-one interviews with them and content coming out of that. And also UB linebacker Red Murdoch, the first UB player to participate in the Combine in 5 years. I had a feature up on him on WIVB.com. In various coverage of what the Bills, some of the storylines going on there. And then they gather a lot of video and information and interviews for these 30 and 30 prospect profiles that come along soon in April leading into the NFL draft.
Explain those.
Yeah, please.
We see them every year, but why don't you explain that?
It's just, it's a feature every day on a draft-eligible prospect, the positions of need for the Bills. Oftentimes, not all 30 players, Bills don't have 30 picks, but sometimes you do see a player that the Bills end up drafting that was profiled earlier in the month by our Josh Reed. So it's a good way to get educated on who the players are, who the top prospects are, and who some of the best fits are maybe for the Bills at various rounds of the draft.
Any storylines that are coming out of the Combine that are surprising? I haven't seen much that's been really earth-shattering at all, particularly for the Bills.
Yeah, not really. And oftentimes with the Combine in years past, you get the coach and the general manager. It's the first time they've spoken in a few weeks, and you get to ask them questions and find out some different things going into free agency. But because of the coaching change and the various media availabilities that have come from that, we've heard from Brandon Beane and we've heard from Joe Brady a lot lately. So there wasn't a lot of new revelatory information. I mean, the Bills did restructure the contract to Spencer Brown to save about $10 million in cap room going into free agency, which is only a week from Monday is when that starts. Sam Franklin, a special teams player they had on the team all last year, is coming back. So some little moves that aren't really Combine related, but Bills related happening at this time of year.
All right. Anything else we should be looking out for in regards to the Combine?
With the Bills and the Combine, the prospect profiles when they come out. I mean, I think the NFL Combine, it's fun to watch if you're really into college football and things like that. But I don't know. I think you can overdo it a little bit if you're watching it and trying to scout out who the Bills are going to draft or who you think they should draft or who's better than who. This is part of an overall data gathering process that starts, all of these players in their college careers, the sophomore, junior, senior year, gathering tape, going to pro days, interviews, visits and things like that. The Combine is just one part of that. I think the biggest thing to watch is how Red Murdoch does in the testing and running and what his draft profile comes out to be coming out of this Combine and what he's able to do.
I think you said it the other day, Dave. UB turning into linebacker U.
Right.
A little facetious because, of course, I mean, they're a MAC program, but they have produced some incredible linebackers over the past couple years.
This is 3 years in a row. Joe Andreessen and Sean Dolak weren't invited to the Combine, but did make NFL rosters and NFL players. Yeah. And going back, Khalil Mack. They had some edge rushers. Malcolm Kuntz coming in between those guys. And even going back to Jerry Philbin, who was a defensive end, but a bit of a linebacker-type player way back in the 60s, one of their best players from then. So, Penn State is linebacker U, but Buff State,
let's be honest.
Little
UB
sister UB.
Maybe mid-major linebacker.
Mid-major, that's better, I think. High school playoffs are starting pretty soon. Is it hockey and basketball?
Oh, well, it's underway in pretty much all the winter sports.
In everything, right? Okay, that's what I thought.
Different points in the calendar a little bit with different sports, but basketball is in kind of the semifinal stage, and all of those games are at Buff State, boys and girls this year, although in lower classes it's at Fredonia and Jamestown Community College. You can check out on WIBB Plus. We have a full special previewing all that with sports reporter Gretchen Beyer and all the different matchups. And this is the first year where the girls' teams are playing their semifinals on college courts. It's
good stuff.
That's kind of a neat thing for them and how that came about. We get into all of that. Finals will get started Wednesday in both of the sports. And what's happening with a lot of that now is it used to be a big day of boys basketball on Saturday with all the championship games. And then on Sunday was all the girls' championship games. Now those are spread out and staggered, so it's a lot of quadruple headers. It'll be two girls' championship games, then two boys' championship games, and different classes on different days. And Buff State Week has turned into Buff State Weeks, so a lot more action and a lot more opportunities to see different teams, girls and boys. And then in the hockey, Super Sunday is on Sunday before the Sabres come back. That ice is going to be used for some championship games. Kenmore West and Clarence play at noon in the Division II final, and then Division I Orchard Park and Lancaster, and we'll see who moves on to the state playoffs, which are back here in Buffalo at Harbor Center in the following weekends.
That's fantastic.
All right, awesome. Women's basketball, I love talking about that here in Western New York because they are just, they're killing it.
Yeah, last night, Monsignor Martin Championship game, St. Mary's won that game by 45 points. They had only allowed a point in the third quarter, no points in the second quarter in that game, and they're moving on to the state playoffs and number 1 ranked team in town. 4 players on that team probably going to be Division I players at some point.
All right, Jonah, thank you. That is all the time we have. Sorry. we didn't talk about Jessie Pegula. She won the Dubai Championship, but good for her. All right, thank you so much for joining us for Buffalo Brief. We will see you on Monday.